Hartlepool. When was the first time well, obviously you ended up at the back end of your career, Alan, at Hartlepool. It's getting a. I've doing a few books on the place now. Lovely little interesting place. What were your first thoughts when you first arrived at the club?
Well, I knew quite a lot of Danny Wilson. Obviously, he was the manager at the time, and he managed in the Premier League at Barnsley and Sheffield Wednesday and stuff like that, and um, held him in high esteem. So once I spoke to Danny, and it was handy for me because I was living in Newcastle at the time, and Hartlepool trained at Maiden Castle in Durham at the
Mm.
university's training ground. So it was handy for me. It was half an hour from home rather than driving to Leeds at Wetherby, and I was just picking up niggling injuries because of all the driving to Leeds and Wetherby and stuff. So
Mm.
it made sense to go to Hartlepool and train at Durham, and it just fit the bill really. And then I went there. I think I played 5 or 6 games in a month, and then I wanted to stay at Hartlepool and carry on because I was loving it. But Gary McAllister got the job at Leeds and called us back. And as soon as I went back to Leeds, lo and behold, I got injured straight away. So
Right.
he
Well,
was right that I should have stayed at Hartlepool, but the manager of Leeds wanted us back because I was contracted to Leeds. So
you played 7 games in 5 weeks. I've looked.
right, yeah,
And
that
you,
sounds about right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that wasn't bad considering you were 34. And I dare say, I mean, I watched your free kick. I mean, you scored some blinders. But do you know what? Maybe the best free kick of all time was for Hartlepool United. I think it was in your first game.
I'm not sure it was my first game, but I remember scoring one at home for Hartlepool. Can't remember who it was against, but it was definitely a good one.
Yeah.
My dad was there. My mum and dad were there watching, and my dad said, "Oh, that's one of the best you've scored in years." So
Mm.
definitely a good one, and that's probably my last goal. I would have thought.
It was. It was
I'm
your
trying to.
last ever goal as a professional footballer. Away from the pitch, Tommo, what was Hartlepool like as a place then?
Well, I didn't really go much. The only time I went to Hartlepool was when we were playing at home.
Mm.
Because we trained in Durham. So the only time I went was when we had a home game, really. So I didn't really get to see much of Hartlepool, but I knew players who played there in the past, good friends of mine, Paul Baker, Joe Allen, Brian Honor. So I'd been to Hartlepool as a kid and watched some of my mates who were older than me play for them, you know. So
Mm.
I knew what it was like. The fans were great, even though I was only there a month. They were great, so
Mm.
I can't complain.
And do you ever think you could? I mean, obviously, I'm just putting the finishing touches to your book now, and you've mentioned Hartlepool and Great Light. In fact, you said you'd love to go back there one day. Do you think that could happen?
I can't see why not. I'd love to get back involved in football in some capacity, and why not? If something come along that would interest me and they'd be interested, then of course I would have. I've done my apprenticeship, if you want, as an assistant manager or a coach.
Mm.
I've done the rounds at Birmingham and Newcastle, Bury, Celtic, Blackpool. So I've got experience, and that's something I'd like to do in the future, without a doubt. Yeah. So
Mm.
if something come up, then yeah, definitely be interested. Yeah.
The nickname is the Monkey Hangers. Do you know why that? Do you know any reason why that? Any idea why
Is
that
it
is?
is it something to do with the sailors or something? Are the
Uh,
monkeys on the ships or something?
it's close. It's basically in the Napoleon years, hundreds of years ago. They basically found a monkey shipwrecked, and they had, and this is amazing. It's a fact though. Apparently, one of the people from Hartlepool who questioned the monkey said he sounded French, and, and so they basically decided that this monkey was a French spy, and they hung him in the centre of Hartlepool or whatever. And they've got the nickname the Monkey Hangers. It's quite a derogatory name to some people in Hartlepool. Some people don't mind it, but it's a fact at the end of the day. I suppose it's part of the history.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of them things that some people are gonna not like it, and some people will.
Yeah.
My nickname's Hooch. It's my nickname's Hooch. So not everyone likes it, but you've got to take it on the chin.
Can you tell us why that nickname's Hooch, or do you want to leave it for the book?
Yeah, I'll leave it for the book.
Leave it
Yeah.
for the book. And yeah, so this is obviously a bit on Hartlepool, and I take Hartlepool's a little place in your heart, Alan. That Jeff Stelling raved about you them few Saturdays that you played. And you know, you've played for a few teams: Aston Villa, Celtic, Leeds, Newcastle. Is Hartlepool's result always something you would look out for?
Yeah, yeah, always have a look. Always have a look for the result along with all the other teams I played for, you know. But
Mm,
especially with it being a northeastern club as well,
mm.
it's I definitely hold it close to my heart. And you know, obviously, come I retired at the end of the season, I was at Hartlepool, and it wasn't a great season, but that's a month that I look back on with fond memories, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you retired 34. You probably pulled the trigger too quick, but obviously you were offered a job to go back in Newcastle. But hindsight's a wonderful thing. But you probably wish you'd have maybe stayed at Hartlepool for a couple of seasons.
Looking back on it now, if I could have changed it, yeah, I'd probably, even though I went back to Leeds, I'm guessing Hartlepool might have been able to offer me a deal at the end of the season, but I'd already made my mind up with it finishing on a sour note at Wembley in the playoff final for
Mm,
Leeds. Didn't get stripped and what have you. I just thought maybe that's the time, maybe my legs have gone. So
mm.
when I decided to go into coaching. But yeah, looking back on it, if I'd have looked after myself, I definitely could have had a couple more years playing at that level with Hartlepool, yeah.
Yeah, and they're now back in the football league, so obviously things are on the up for them.
Yeah, definitely. Let's hope they can, consolidate their position for a season or two, and then try and get a couple of promotions and get up the leagues. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. Up the monkey hangers.